isn't. And we are back for yet another day. Uh, oh, and audio's coming through on one of the other streams I use to monitor. I am not used to hearing my own voice come through a few seconds delay after I said it. Um, it has been the first day back for work, and things are doing pretty damn well. Hopefully, anybody else out there has had to head back to work. I know a few of my American friends and compatriots out there have. You guys don't actually take decent breaks over the holidays, which is weird to me. Like I would have thought that you actually have like decent breaks. Uh, Sorry, everything going a little bit weird here. Um, yeah, I thought you guys would actually have like decent decent holiday breaks or something like that, but it seems not. Like everybody just kind of started working that first week after, like you're all back at work on like the 6th. It seems it's a bit weird, but in any case, yeah, everything has kicked back in. Uh, Fantastic start to the year, just getting shit done, which ultimately means that I'm happy. Things are going well, and I could not complain much. It's like everything has been brilliant. And for some reason, YouTube just keeps showing me an incredibly blown out video version uh, of what's going on. It must be the monitor. I don't know what it is. There seems to be something about the monitor that um, that as it goes through one side and then on something else. I wish I could get video of this because it's a very strange thing to have. Like saturation, that all the color being blown out and kind of like blown up to the nines. It it seems to be that, but it's not working properly. But that's beside the point. Uh, okay, so first, thank you very much. Arcade Plays, you've been back for a week and also dealing with a bad back as well. I hope you are feeling a little bit better. And OMG Turtles, so right about now would be approximately 11 o'clock in the UK, if memory serves me. Uh, Hopefully you're doing well. You've been back, but you also got married and then immediately like only had a few days off after that and then drove back home and started working from memory. Uh, have you actually had a break? Like planning a wedding, 10:30. Yes, I was on it. Excellent. I have a sense of memory. I remember things. This is good. This is progress for me when it comes to time zones because I'm generally like I know that America is somewhat ahead of us. Anything that happens in America, generally gaming news, can't stop, won't stop. Now I wish I had a button to be able to just hit that and just bust into some Fat Boy Slim. Uh, I will have to see if I can install that. Oh, and and Miyake Play says congratulations on the wedding. Uh, yes, it's like for everything. I'm I'm still glad that any small piece of advice that I could give you on being able to take a moment for yourself with the wedding and everything was hopefully helpful. And to hear that you and your partner basically just crashed out at the end. It was just like fell asleep. When you said that you both kind of like fell asleep on the couch, I just imagined that you were like Muppets without the puppeteer. Like you're just like like slung over one another, just like you're asleep on her lap and she's like over the back of the couch, because that honestly is how Beck and I felt after our wedding. And ours was at a register's office with our friends, and then we just went out and ate. Like, we had a steak lunch, and that was it. Like, we crashed out. I think we got married at like 9:30 in the morning. Then by the time that was done, it was like, I think 10:15, 10:30. We walked down to the local O'Malley's, shouted everybody lunch, and I think by the time we were finished with lunch and everything, it was maybe 1 o'clock, 1:30. We went back to our room, and we were staying, even though we lived in the city at that point, like, we lived a few streets away. And we still ended up staying at the Treasury Casino, which was like a few blocks away. And we got back there and just basically crashed out. And no, actually, I think it was that we checked out of the Treasury, got back to our apartment, which was a few streets away, and crashed out. Unfortunately, Wombat isn't here to be able to verify. Actually, the advantage being, no, actually, Wombat and I have had a very long day. It is 8:30 p.m. here. We were both up at 5 a.m. walking the dogs, getting everything ready, and then we've had one of the busiest first days of the year that I can remember in a long, long time. OMG Turtles. Been nice that for about a week now we've felt this new sense of freedom. Don't feel tied down by commitments. That, I think, is one of the biggest things about a wedding, that after it's done, okay, no, there are commitments now. This will depend. Although while I'm doing this, I'm also gonna kick in and start working on the backlog here. So once the wedding's done, the next question that comes up from family and friends and associates is, so when are you having kids? And as I'm sure everyone who's met me or ever spoken to me for more than 10 minutes can attest, no kids, not now, not ever. So that has always been the question that comes up. All right, and I'm just wanting to make sure that this sound. So can we hear that? Yep, it's. There we go. There's a little bit of ambiance music in the background. The first thing that really comes up is.
This has been the journey so far.
Oh yes, sorry, I'd forgotten. Some Mark Hamill.
The right road. A temple was found, and the turn of a key woke a giant from slumber. The makers had need of me.
Unfortunately, I cannot skip this because it is the loading sequence. And I know that for a lot of people, they haven't been... nobody's played Darksiders up to this point. This is backlog stuff for me. Kids. It always comes down to kids, and people go, oh my God, when are you having kids? Like, my... Jesus Christ. I just heard the sound of destruction occurring behind me. Hopefully that didn't blow out the sound for everybody there. And I got some rewards points. Hey, look at that. Even my sister, her plan, like she had told me for years, was that they were she was going to get married, her and her partner. Oh, yeah, we'll have them eventually, but we're not rushing into it. Been a long 4 years and need some time off from big life events. That is one of the best things to do. As I was going to say, my sister was initially, their life plan was they'd get married, They were having their honeymoon over in Italy. I think they did Europe for about 2 weeks, which was really lovely from what they said. But then it would be they'd come back home and spend a little time and then get into like getting a sense of life, locking in what they were going to do for their future. Oh yes, and this is Darksiders 2. This is part of the backlog. Uh, but then, in a not so shocking turn of events, she fell pregnant, and fell pregnant with my first nephew, Saxon. But for everybody around them, it was assumed almost that, oh, but of course you were going to be having kids. Like you had to immediately start and have kids and progress things. Saxon, while wasn't planned for that moment, he was planned. Just it was going to be a little bit later, like maybe a year or so later, but still a lovely thing. And a lot of people seem to almost jump immediately into those decisions. Like, oh, we're married. Okay, we have to have the kid right now. Next, like, cannot wait. It's waiting is bad, and it's a surprising thing. I kind of find it a bit weird that people don't ever consider that maybe getting a sense of your life, like married life, is an important thing. But yeah, for me, okay, the mum referring to cats as the grandkids. My mum refers to the dogs and cats here as her grandkids, because that she has grandkids. Like my sister has done the responsible thing, and actually had kids, human ones, and she knows that she's not getting kids from us, so she's like, oh, okay, well, these are my grandkids, that's it. And she's happy enough with that, which is fantastic. Like, actually, you know what? Let's instead of game, let's just chat. Because here's a surprising thing. Being somebody who doesn't want kids, it is shocking how many, yeah, bloody millennials. It is shocking how many people kind of like jump straight into it and go, oh, must have kids. And people who I know who've had kids never expected them as early as they did. Not that they were kind of mistakes or not plans, but they were like, oh, we're gonna wait a bit, not have them just yet. Live a little, do a bit of travel, do a bit of this, do a bit of that. Turtles, I have not seen your puppy dog. You will have to post a photo of your puppy dog at some point. But for so many people, I was actually shocked. My parents have been incredibly supportive of my younger sister having kids, and they're great grandparents to them. But for me, when I kind of made that statement, my mum was like, okay, yeah. And my dad was kind of like, oh, he said the classic line, you'll change your mind as you get older. And I'm now heading towards 41 and I still haven't changed my mind. And he's kind of just like, okay, yep, cool. He knows he doesn't have to worry about getting presents or anything else. So it's kind of like easy for him. But of many friends that I have, oh, you'll have 10,000 photos somewhere. But while when I was younger, before I met Beck, uh, I I got to know a group of girls who were in a Counter Strike clan, and for all of them, they had what's the best way to put it? They had jobs in the entertainment world, but not the entertainment world you're thinking. Um, and with that, many of them uh, were like me. They're like, no, I don't want kids, and just no maternal instinct or things like that. But over time, they ended up, you know, meeting the right person, and that idea wasn't scary to them anymore. So they had kids and are successful and happy and have these kids, and they're great. But one of them I'd reached out to last year because I think it was her. Yeah, she turned 40 before me, and we hadn't spoken in about 8 or 9 years. Uh, um, I will admit, Turtles. So Turtles has said, I do morbidly consider having kids the death of a version of your life, and the new one begins. You can't be the same person or do the same things you do now. Yes, that's a really honest way to look at it, because if you consider these things, um, yes, and Turtles continues. You have to have acceptance of that and be okay with it before you make the decision. That is a that is a key about any of the life decisions that you really make. If you're able to accept that, well, it's also a sense of acceptance of how life is. Um, I'm sure that everybody's had things in their life go good and bad and many different ways. Sometimes, yes, and Miyake, yeah, kids really change everything. That's a thing. There's I suppose it's a weird topic to jump into, but you know what? I like doing everything of this where we can just kind of have fun with it and go wherever the discussion goes. Um, the the midlife crises and the way that people see the world right now, where everyone kind of has a more morbid look at the world, going, people are depressed, people aren't happy, what they're not feeling fulfilled, they're feeling drawn out and not capable, they're worried about so many things, they're letting down their partners, they're letting down their kids, and all of these things. A lot of that, I think, comes from the anxieties of not being willing to accept the way things are. And I don't wish to denigrate anybody who feels that way, because it's a reality. And sometimes to accept that things aren't going the way you'd wanted isn't an easy thing to do. And it can be hard to let go of a dream to be able to accept not just reality, but to accept and be okay with that, to a degree, you may not be able to have everything you want, but you've got people who love you and care about you. There are always people around you who love you and care for you. And that while right now you are not living your dream, you are getting by. Even when it's tough, even when things aren't as great as they could be, there you can just, well, see, Turtles has got the right idea. One day he'll be a cowboy rock star. And damn right he will be. Because there's a lovely sense of being able to indulge in those things and have them be part of the fun. And it's a case of, like, even for big life changes, like I quit a really well-paying job and working with people who I knew, and uh, yeah. Oh, Meowcade saying totally agree. Even retiring a long-term dream for a new one can be a mind fuck for sure, and that's where I was gonna go because I I basically quit a really well-paying job with people I knew in a work field where I could have grown and built out something more to basically go in on starting something brand new with my dad, who had kind of spun off and gone, I've tried building businesses before and we've been successful in it, and then global financial crisis and such, and he'd never really shown an interest in going back into that. But when he did, it was um, it was another nearly uh, 8 years later since all of that had finished out. I'd done a whole range of different work and was a lot more capable as a person. I understood more. I was better. I'd done all sorts of crazy, incredible things. So that then you kind of have to leap at a moment like that. And I was lucky because Wombat had finished caring for her grandmother who had passed away. She was a full time carer. Then had started working in the aged care sector, and she saw that I wasn't really happy where I was. I could see that things would be better doing something else, but I couldn't bring myself to jump. She was the one who helped me by going, no, you need to be happy. You would be happier doing these things by jumping. And I did. And it is, she supported me. I make light of it a lot by saying that I worked for my dad for a year and a half, and he paid me in a Subway sandwich a day. It was never that bad, but it was to a degree that, in that we weren't making enough to be able to afford to pay wages, but could kind of make sure that everything just ticked away. Wombat was able to take care of the mortgage and, keep the bills paid and everything. And I knuckled down and worked hard. And then when I was, when the business was successful enough that Wombat had the same thing, she had that burnout occur where she's like, I think it was Christmas, not this Christmas, not the Christmas before, it was Christmas before that. I think Christmas of 2022. Yeah, 2023, 2024. Yes, I think it is. Christmas of 2022, Wombat had actually said to me, I've never learned how to weld. Could you teach me how to weld? And I was like, yeah, I had some time off over Christmas, and I was like, yeah, screw it. Took her into work, showed her how to weld, and she had a real aptitude for it. So then she went back to work and was like, I'm actually good at this thing. I am not happy where I am. So then it was my, the kind of responsibility, the thing that you can do as someone, not just for the people that your partners, but for the people around you, that you can then help them and go, okay, I can't afford to pay you, but you can quit your job and come work for free and learn how to do this. And if it takes off, fantastic. We'll train you up, and hopefully by that time we're in a position where we could pay you. She jumped in and did it. I was there to catch her, and she kicked into it so well that she became a full-time employee, our first full-time employee, technically after me, but the first full-time employee who wasn't a founder of the business. um, and from there, it was, you know, it's Wombat had said earlier today, like today has been roughly about, well, wait, there's English people and Australians in here, so no Americans, or at least not to my knowledge. That doesn't seem to be many of the people watching. So if I say Celsius, people are going to know what to, what's the work they do. Oh, I didn't see, turtles. I don't think many people are happy with modern office work. I do sometimes think a lot of people would be happy if the shipyards and mines were still open. People have a lot more of a purpose and appreciate the work they do. That was where I was going next. And thank you very much for the compliment, Meowcade. It was with humidity today and no real breeze. It was about 32, 33 degrees. It got up to around 34 degrees in the sheds today. We were using the plasma cutters and the cutting discs to cut up metal benches and clear a whole bunch of scrap, break down things. We also had to weld. So it has been a very hot and sweaty day, and the humidity was roughly, I think earlier today it listed it at about 75 to 75% humidity. So even though it was hot, everybody was sweating. And even with that, where Wombat's previous job would have been in the air conditioner, chilling out, no hassles, no problems whatsoever, completely out of the weather, completely out of all of the uncomfortable temperatures. She still said, like, even though this has been a long fucking day and it has been hot and sweaty and everything else, she's still like, this is still the best job. I love my job. And regardless of the fact that I'm her partner, hearing that as an employer, as a like production manager, supervisor, boss, that's such a nice thing to hear, that what you're doing, like, even though, like, I will admit my work is tough. Like, not everybody is built to be a sheet metal worker. I think Turtles does have a point. A lot of people would be happy if the shipyards and mines were still open, because there is a real sense of accomplishment in a hard day, like the Australianism. So you might not know this term, Turtles, but a hard day's yakka. Hard day of yakka will just leave you spent, but you kind of look at something. Actually, Wombat has described that for a previous role, looking at everything that she'd done in a day, getting in there at 7 a.m. and leaving at 5 p.m., you're not able to look at anything that gives you an indication of how much work that you've done, because what you're doing in the administrative role, a hard day's yakka is painful. Yakka is just the term for like hard work, hard labor, physical labor generally. So a lot of people used to use it to refer to like mustering and herding, baling up stuff like threshing and cutting sugarcane, all of that. That's the old term for yakka. And it generally is painful. You've got blisters at least. And DJ Fart Blaster, we crave that mineral. Yes, we do. The kids, they yearn for the mines. But for what Wombat has said, working in aged care, you're helping people in their homes around the country where you are organizing for people to go out and give them the healthcare that they need, the healthcare that they need to be able to get by, whether it's a medication reminder or a simple bit of domestic assistance, or it can be something as kind of critical as insulin. Uh, you want the mines. Well, Microsoft, you keep saying the word mines, and I think someone from Microsoft is going to come in here and like drop Minecraft codes and be like, "Get back into the mines, kids." Not realizing like we're all in our 30s at least. But in a comparison, um, for Wombat, looking at that work, you can't see anything that kind of gives you an indication, but you know that over time, that that work, you don't see that in someone's face. You know that there are some people out there who really appreciate that work. But there's nothing physical. There's nothing you can look at the end of the day that gives you an indication of how much you've done and what that is. And I think it was one of the first couple of weeks of Wombat working with us, and I had cut up an entire pack of steel into these bollards that we make. So they sit about 1.2 meters high, just over that, and there's a couple of welds to them. We, oh, thank you very much, Turtles. You get back to work, but thank you very much for popping in. Appreciate it. So for yeah, so for Wombat, in this week, I cut up all of these steel into all of these individual parts. Then she had to go through and put a plate at one end and weld something to it, and then weld this bit to this bit, and then put another plate there. Then once it's all welded, then she had to go through and sand them all. So she learnt each of those stages of the process. But then at the end of the day, she was standing there and looking at about 30 of these things. And they're all just standing up on the ground. So there's like this and this, and like they're all stacked about 5 wide and 6 deep. And she's standing there looking at it and going, holy shit, that's cool. Looking, because she was able to look at something and go, I did that today. And I was kind of like thrown a little bit, like, yeah, but you've done these before. And she's like, yes, but for all of my previous work, I wasn't able to see the things that I was doing, the work that I was doing. I can't look at it and go, I did that, because it was also ephemeral in a sense for the admin work. Meowcade Plays says, personally love sitting on my butt in the aircon in the office, but that's just me. I do not ever give shit to people who sit on their butt in an office in aircon, because it's something that I can do for small periods of time. But if I'm stuck in the office for more than like an hour or so, I find it very stifling, because for my entire work career, I've always been the person who's down on the floor doing stuff with my hands. So it always feels a bit weird to not be doing that. And Kate also said, I can't work a job where I don't feel like I'm making a difference. So I do get that aspect. Although specifically for Meowcade's work, like the difference you're doing, you get so much feedback, and you're able to see how that impacts people. There is a kind of there is a bit of back and forth. Meowcade giving a bit there. Sitting on your butt in aircon is hard work, but someone's got to do it. That is true. Someone's got to go there and sit on their butt and do this work, and it may as well be you. You know, that's the important thing. So that's kind of one of those interesting little parts for how all of these how all of that work, like how some people are kind of impacted by it to a degree, because it can be a little weird how all of that stuff changes, how you see it. Okay. Well, actually, yeah, backling the Tacklog seems to be a bit weird, because these games are just. I might have made a very terrible decision in terms of some of the games that I'm trying to push my way through, but we're gonna try a little bit more and see if I can do this and have it not one, blow out the eardrums of everybody involved. I need a controller for this game. There we go. So let's just bring this down a little bit. And hopefully this is not too loud for everyone there. If the volume is a little weird, like, please let me know, and I'll adjust. I'm still trying to get it to actually adjust. I've got a cool little mixing desk in this direction here, but for some reason I change it there, and it changes it in my monitors, but it doesn't change it for you guys on the stream, which is entirely beside the fucking point. It should kind of work all of those things together, but we shall see. Darksiders 2, for anybody who hasn't played any of the Darksiders games, they're basically just a very cool comic-y version of a Zelda-style Metroidvania type game, which is fun. They've got a really good sense of adventure, but also a very unique artistic style, which...
It's all right, I've got you.
Oh, he's got me. What have you got me? Oh. Oh, you're just going to throw me around the place. Fair enough. I forgot that dude actually helps you a lot. But as much as the Zelda games are really great, it's still one of those things that I have trouble with. In that, because I don't have that history for Zelda, I'm not a... Not that I'm not a Nintendo kid, I never really was, but the sense of the Nintendo nostalgia that so many people have is not something that I kind of grew up with. So it ends up being a weird thing of whenever people talk about the Zelda games, I'm a bit like, oh, yeah, I remember, I know of them, but they're not something that has... Okay, what have we got here? We have a dude, and he is... Seems like he's not doing well. I don't think he's meant to be that wet, but that could just be me. A little bit too much excitement in his life. But these are actually the games that have kind of caught my attention in the Zelda style, like open worlds, fun tearing around sort of games, because there's less history that everyone knows and it is kind of already established, where instead it's kind of finding out about it through... Ooh. Oh, that's right. Shit. I'm going to need to get that out there. I have got to go find how to open that thing. Oh, yeah. And my favorite thing about this game is this is death. You know, the physical embodiment of death. And that over there is his crow. It is a great crow. That crow does amazing things. Whoop. He does amazing things except help me be able to climb. But the one thing that always kind of struck me about that a lot of other games never did, that the Zelda games always were fantastic at, in my mind, is the sense of exploration, that for everything that you're doing, there is always these little things just out of reach, but it doesn't infuriate you by going, oh no, you have to. It will never give you a massive puzzle to be able to work out these issues. It is always very keenly built around just, if you can get to it in that moment, they're not going to screw you around. They're just going to go, okay, here you go. Here's, like, they will make the solutions easy to be able to suit and give you the confidence to build up. Then go into more complex problems as time goes on, where it then becomes the kind of build up of, oh, I feel more confident that I can do these things. Whoop, and nope. And I've managed to get myself stuck in an infinite loop. I needed to actually scramble up this wall. I like when games do. It's something I remember actually from a surprising thing. The behind the scenes, the making of Splinter Cell for the original Xbox, and I've got that on disc. I might actually see. I think that's backwards compatible, and I think they have it on the disc. But there's actually a making of where they talk about the building up of challenges. That the first challenge in a game should always be something where they teach you the skill, and then, oh, look at that, there's the crow sitting on Death's shoulder, and it's really cute. He just kind of flies around and does his thing, and he's also your compass, in a sense of, when you start moving, he will fly and he highlights and shows you where you're going to be going next. So there's always an active indication of where you need to be going. The crow is always going to lead the way. Great idea. This crow doesn't lead anybody anywhere except down a path of rambling and nonsense. But that's what he's guiding you to do. Rambling and nonsense. I don't know if it's what's good for you, but it's what keeps me sane. So, I believe it was the producer, Matthew Furlan, was talking about a game should always build up in complexity, but it starts with a simple idea, and it shows you how to then use the skill set or the skill sets that they're teaching you to be able to pass this challenge, whether it's, avoid the light, or, disappear around this corner, or avoid the enemy. But then it is always that you've avoided the enemy, they haven't seen you. Then you give the enemy a flashlight and you avoid the enemy. Then you give two enemies a flashlight each and you avoid the enemies. And you build up and give people ways around those problems that you're throwing them. But it always has to start with, any concept starts with a simple first point, which is always, there we go. Thank you very much, my man. I think now we get this up here. Up. I think I meant to get it up there. Yeah, there we go. Or maybe not. I'm not sure what I'm meant to be doing here. I'm just going to work it out as we go. But those sorts of challenges are always a great way to build up. And this game is fantastic at that. In starting with, like, it'd be nice to go back and do it, but not really. I don't think it'd be worthwhile going all the way back to the start of this game and then playing another full 6 hours just to kind of be able to go, oh, and look at this amazing, you know, this amazing world building and everything, and then finding myself completely frustrated as I'm going, oh, I've played this bit through like 3 or 4 times and I've never made it any further. And now it's trying to guide this ball, which is fucking infuriating, and I forgot that this is why I stopped playing. I know that Beeves is out there laughing at me, being like, alright. Damn it. Nope. Okay, let's try. Oh, there we go. It was about shooting it as well. And look, we found the wet boy. Am I going to have to fight you? I don't want to have to fight you as well, please. Or is this... Nope. Okay, so that's stuck there. Let's have a look at this. What are we going to do with you? Activate. I forgot that we get to use these boys. I have forgotten more about this game than I remember. The controls are just kind of that innate sense of smash button and you'll find success. Surprising turn of events. So I've always been a really big fan of this is kind of like my version, my thing of any of the Zelda games. Although I have been wondering whether it would actually be an idea to go and play the Zelda games on stream, because I've never finished any of them. Alright, what am I meant to be doing? Alright, so... okay, so I can mount you. And now what do I need to do? Maybe... Oh! Here we go. The crow leads the way. Again, me crow, not smart. This crow, very smart. It leads the way properly. But actually on that, there was a interesting thing. A friend's, I was talking to a friend earlier today and going, actually this, like today, first day back at work has actually been really good, like really surprisingly. It's been very interesting, and there hasn't been the the clusterfucks that I've heard of years past. And he was like, what do you mean clusterfucked? And then I remembered working for a really large company that had 120 130 people. So they'd close down over Christmas for about a period of maybe a week or two. And over that time, like, obviously people going away for Christmas and so on and so forth, you know, general thing. So what might not shock you about people working in the fabrication fields is that many of them love their wacky grasses. Let's just call it that. So many of these people are just, they're enjoying their Christmas. They're like, oh fuck yeah, you know, getting to hang out with my mates, going and you know, getting high, having a great time. You know, that's their prerogative. And in one of the strangest things that I have ever seen for a business to do, they decided the first week coming back after Christmas break, 2 weeks, people not at work, that they would decide that that would be the day to then drug test everyone. Now, work started at 7 o'clock, and the idea was that people would get there at 6:45. You know, they would push you to be there by 6:45 to kind of clock in. You know, have a smoke, have your brekkie, do whatever, and then be ready to start at 7. People are pulling in. I've pulled in myself, and I can see that there is a large, like, you know, the blood donation vans? Basically like a version of one of those, but it doesn't have any branding on it. So it could be a Scarecrow truck bringing a whole bunch of tools that we'd ordered, or it could be a drug test van, but you don't know. And then as it's getting closer to 7 o'clock, then all of the managers for each of the sections of this business, because there was like fabrication and production and brake press and all of these different areas of this one business, all of them start coming out to see everybody and going, oh yeah, you guys, we're first up, need you to go over and provide a P sample. And as soon as the word P sample came up, I watched 4 guys, like 4 guys out of probably 9 or 10 who were outside having a cigarette, myself included, walked in, grabbed their bags, jumped in their cars and drove off. And everyone's like, oh, okay. And on that day, out of a staff of maybe 130 that I know of, apparently the amount of people working in that business on that day at all levels, not just people in the office, not just people on the floor, but at all levels, there were about 45 to 50 absences that day. Many of the people ended up coming back to work a day or two later with a note from their doctors saying that any drug test that they were to give would be affected and that they would show this positive result because they were on medication. Now, fair call. Like if you're on opiates, like if you're on painkillers for something, which a few of them were, if they were to just do the drug test then and there and not be able to declare, oh, I've been on these opiates and they have prescription, then it would show up and your bosses would go, you have tested positive for opiates. What the fuck? That's a breach of our workplace practices and health and safety regulations. Ah, shit. And that's what I get for not paying attention. I jump into lava. Um, so yeah, they came back the next couple of days, another day or two, and their doctor's going, oh yeah, they're all right. They're taking opiates. They are prescription. And I think there was 4 guys. I think 4 guys who were away for a period of about 2-3 weeks that were like, sorry, not able to come into work, having back surgery, having, emergency, emergency things for any sorts of health issues that they could come up with. Even things claiming that they were claiming. I'm trying to remember the weirdest one. Was one of the guys was saying that he was suffering from PTSD. I got gooped hard. Yeah, okay, I did. And that's what I get for not paying attention. I'm not good at playing games and talking at the same time. I think you've seen this. Whenever we've played the Division 2 together, I can natter away when we're running through the streets, but if I'm talking while we're fighting, I'm pretty much gonna get blindsided. Whoop. I cannot remember what the dodge button is. Oh, there it is. I have a dodge button. Yeah, so, like, yeah, for some of them, these guys were just absolutely getting the hell out of there and going, I cannot play and talk at the same time, it seems. So yeah, claimed workplace difficulties, that the issues at work were that I'm just going to save here. And the save file is done. Good. I'm going to flip over to chat. So yeah, he claimed that because they did a drug test without his prior knowledge, they placed him under undue stresses in then surprising him with a drug test that, if he had known was coming up, would mean that he would not have partaken in using illicit drugs at that time, that would put his job at risk. And this flew. I kid you not. It flew. I remember people on the floor who ended up doing the P test and failing because they had drugs in their system, so they came up positive. And the workplace basically went, all right, until you return a clean sample, we're not going to pay you. But if you go and do another P sample tomorrow and it comes back clean, or you provide a P sample inside the next 2 weeks that is clean of any illicit substances, then we will pay you for that entire 2 weeks that you haven't been able to work. Because they knew that if you were using drugs recently, specifically cannabis would show up in these drug tests for approximately 3 months, was what this company was saying that their sample point was, that it would pick up cannabinoids for about 3 months in your urine samples and everything. So you had the opportunity, but other people who accepted that they got a positive result and came back 2 weeks later and were able to go clean, which means that it must have been used possibly up to 3-4 months previous, and that now they're at a point where they like, oh shit, I could get drug tested at any point. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this, and putting potentially myself and others at risk. So, to a weird degree, everybody else is doing the right thing, and then this guy used that to get out of it, and it flew, not because of the unions, but because of the like not Fair Work Australia, but like at this point it was still work choices, like the work choices system from the Howard era government stuff. It allowed them for him to basically get away with it, and the business couldn't do anything about it, because unless they were able to get him to provide a sample that proved that he was using drugs, they couldn't accuse him of using drugs. So his way around it was not to give a sample and then say that they were placing him under undue stress by asking for a sample, because they knew he would fail. But in doing that, they were then preempting that he would fail and creating undue stress. That, in a sense, yeah, disasters of the first week back at work, that's the worst one I've been there for. Now, obviously, I went in there, I did a pee sample, I came up clean because I'm a good boy. Well, the less said about that, the better. But it's always that first week back at work where there's that, like, for everybody who's kind of with it, you kind of get back into your rhythms, and you just boop, 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 you're good. Like, you get back into that rhythm, your flow's there, and everything kicks along fine. And then you have moments like that where you come back and you've got like 40 people missing for about 4 days because everybody's panicking about a drug test they didn't know was coming. Yeah, biggest managerial fuck up I've seen, because nobody was willing to honestly say this was a stupid idea. If you are going to do that, would it not be smarter to have the drug testing people come in, let everybody park up, come in, start work, be logged into the system, and then peel people off, like right off the day? Half the day is no production, but everybody who goes in and gives a sample, you then put them to another part of the building where they're not going to be able to tell anybody what's going on, so that everyone just kind of gets pulled into a room and then disappears. You know, it can be very Twin Peaksian if you want. Just have a backwards talking midget that comes out and just greets you and hands you like a small glass of orange juice after everything's said and done. But on that, we've kicked along for about an hour. It is the first day back at work for me. So while I am very chipper and pretty smiley, there is a lot of tiredness behind these eyes. And I am certainly feeling it. But I wanted to keep to the schedule that I'd set, because as tired as I am, and as exhausting as this today's been, I was actually looking forward to this, just to kick back and chat. So thank you very much to Meowcade for setting up. I know that it's heading towards your bedtime. Normally you would have been in bed a half hour ago, to which I say thank you for chilling out and hanging out with me. I really do appreciate it. And thank you to OMG Turtles for sticking your nose in and driving the conversation as you do on your lunch breaks. I really do appreciate it. I thank you. And to DJ Fart Blaster coming in to basically say that, yes, we do crave that mineral, the mines. We all yearn for the mines. And that is one of those key facts of life. Meowcade, they are not nana hours. They are responsible hours to a degree. Like, a lot of people could actually use your time structure to be able to get a little more sense of their life back. Because, while we get up at the ass crack of dawn, we get so much more done because no one else is awake. I imagine Fart Blaster has been giving me crap. Although at one of these points, if Fart Blaster's ever up for it and he's feeling energetic enough, either yourself or he can jump into Discord and natter away, if you so wish. Or you can continue to sit there and, as I think, as Beeves has said it, lob bricks from the cheap seats, which I kind of like. I think it worked quite well. So I'll say thank you to everybody who's kicked in, and thank you to anybody who's watching on VOD later, either on Twitch or on YouTube. I do appreciate it. And yeah, any topics or things, even any discussion ideas that you've got, toss them in the comments, because I really, with anything like that, I will put that into an episode and have that be one of the topics or things that we can talk about, because I think everything always has to be a discussion. There has to be a back and a forth. And I can stand here and talk at endlessly. Way too much. Way too much for sensible people to listen to. But if there's somewhere to go to, you can always come into interesting discussions. Like, even just in this, consider that we had Turtles drop in, then speaking about congratulating on the wedding, and then talking about life and how it changes, how kids change your life, then about how you can find happiness in life. I love the fact that for everyone else out there currently probably on Twitch, there are 100,000 other people out there who are talking with their audience about a veritable smorgasbord of memes and bits and pieces. But I like that we can have a serious discussion every now and again and still make David Lynch jokes, because that's the spice of life, honestly. David Lynch jokes. All right, so I will be back. The next stream will be on Wednesday, Australian time, but it will be starting at 6:30. The schedule is actually in the Twitch on my channel, and it should be going across to YouTube as well, so that it should show up on a scheduled system, and that it will update those things consistently all the way through. So Wednesday streams are going to be 2 hours earlier, and then the Friday streams will be starting at the same time as they have tonight at 8:30, and the Saturday stream will be starting at approximately 9:30, 10:30 in the morning. But that one will be a whole lot longer. So that's going to be where I'm going to really lock in and just do something for a day. It'll probably be a couple of hours of streaming, then a half-hour break, and then a couple more hours of streaming. That's how it's currently looking. And the pup cam is looking like it works. I've got it running on an old mobile phone where I can use it and set it up wherever I want. So Piper Cam will be up in that corner over there at all times. All right. Thank you very much. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and I appreciate your time.